my presentation is on the basic principles of the U.S. Constitution. And this is a lesson designed for high school students, but it can also be used for middle school too, so like 6th through 12th grade. And then these are my content standards. And then this is my lesson about the Constitution. You know, we the people, the founding fathers of America wanted to create a constitution that would benefit us, not the government. So they came up with these basic principles.
Yes.
And these are the 6 basic principles. Popular sovereignty, which means the power lies within the people. So like we have the power to choose who runs our government. Judicial review, that's the court's power to determine the constitutionality of anything the government might do. Limited government, which means the government can only do what we give it the power to do. Federalism, which is the separation between the national central government and then the local and state governments. Separation of powers, which is the division of the 3 branches of the government, and then the checks and balances between those. And then I'm not going to go over which articles they're in because that's going to take way too long. But and this is like an open question I would ask the class, like what would happen if we didn't have a constitution? What would our government be like if we didn't have the right to vote? So we'd probably be like a monarchy or under an authoritarian government that made all of our decisions for us. And then I'm going to go over all the principles, which I kind of already did. Popular sovereignty. The government's source of authority lies with the people. And that the people are directly involved in electing our government through the process of voting. And then limited government. Any powers that are not delegated to the federal government are delegated to the states and to the people. So if it's not specifically written in the Constitution that it's a federal power, then it belongs to us. And then this was one of my activities. Because I'm going to be going over the separation of powers next, so I was going to ask the class, what do you think these the 3 branches might do? And then you can come up here and write down whatever. That would be for the class to do. And they could be right or it could be wrong. And then I'm going to go, and then, did you want to try to come up and write something down?
Yeah.
Like what kind of jobs do you think
Executive.
3 branches have?
Executive, the first one.
Yep. What kind of jobs do you think this is the president?
Scientist treatment.
And like you would write that on these lines. This is like to give the students in class to use the board or whatever. This is administration, the president.
Administer government.
Yep. You want to try one of the other branches? This is Congress. What do you think Congress does?
Make law.
That's Congress?
Oh, yes. Yes. Report.
The Supreme Court.
Yeah. Okay, do something on
Don't
Congress.
they ratify treaties?
Yep.
Oh, sign treats, not treating.
Well, the president signs them and they ratify them. Okay, anyways, we gotta move on. Then, so these are the 3 branches: the legislative, the executive, judicial. Executive is the president; he enforces the laws, and the judicial branch interprets them after Congress makes them. Blah blah blah. You want me to read all this? In order to keep the balance among the government, the Constitution defines in Articles 1, 2, and 3 the powers that each of these branches have. So Congress passes federal laws, establishes lower courts, and can override the president and impeach them. The courts have the power, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, this is way too much. I feel like my presentation is so much longer than everybody else's. And then checks and balances, and then this is I don't know what this is. This was way too much to try to put in a slide, so I found the site that specifically lists which which powers each branch has and then how it checks the other. So, this is way too much to read all of this. Okay, and then we have judicial review, which is the power of the court system to decide whether or not something is unconstitutional. So if, say, the president signs a law and someone else is like, I don't think that's right, then through the power of judicial review, they can decide whether or not it is and then, you know, do whatever they decide. And then another principle is federalism, which is the division of federal and state governments. And then these are the different federalist powers. Do you guys know what any of these are? I'll tell you this one because it's easy. Concurrent powers, well, I'll let you try to guess. One of these powers is for the federal government, one of them is for the state, and then the other one is shared. So which one do you think is the shared powers? Based on the names.
Concurrent?
Yes, this is the shared power. And then, do you guys want to try to guess which ones the federal government powers are?
Federal government. Reserve the power.
No.
Express.
Expressed powers are for the federal government, and anything not expressed in the Constitution is reserved for the state. And then this was an activity I had. These are some of the powers, and then the class was, I was going to have them come up and decide if you think it's a expressed power, a reserved power, or a concurrent power, and then they could write it up there in the thing. Okay. And then I was going to go over them one more time. This is the end of the lesson. And then I had, this is like one quiz. Do you guys want to come up and try some of these? These are the three branches of the government, and then these are powers. Kind of like what you did before, but they're already picked out for you. This one's a lot easier than the other one. And then this was my other game, but this is going to take way too long. I was going to divide the class into two teams, and then they could pick, you know, the category, and then the question, but the answer keys down here, you have to open that over there or whatever. But then that was my other game or whatever. So it was like, they would pick like which branch for 200, and then which branch is the president in? The executive branch. Okay. Anyways, that's it, and then